Today we're checking out this 3/4 inch front bumper spacer kit for the 2020 and newer Silverado 2500 HD. If you're trying to push your bumper forward slightly, whether for improved wheel clearance, leveling out your stance, or just a more aesthetic alignment, this spacer is a practical solution that is definitely worth checking out. This kit raises your bumper mounting point by 3/4 of an inch, giving you slightly more clearance to avoid rubbing of larger tires or suspension travel on lifted trucks. It helps align the bumper with aftermarket accessories like skids or light bars by shifting it forward just enough to reduce interference or fitting tightness. Because it's relatively small with that 3/4 of an inch, it's not going to drastically alter the approach angle or any aesthetics, maintaining a near stock look but giving you a little bit of extra clearance. The black powder coat finish is going to blend with the factory hardware and the trim, helping spacers stay visually unobtrusive and out of sight, out of mind. When it comes to the construction on these spacers are made from very durable steel to make sure you have structural integrity when it's under load, and it's going to resist deforming over time. They're also going to come with this nice bag of hardware that matches the factory torque specs. This black powder coat finish is designed to resist corrosion, chipping, and road wear over time, and the hardware such as the longer bolts or the washers is going to be included in the kit to kind of simplify this install process. And if you stick with me, we'll show you that install here in a minute. When it comes to the pricing on this, it's actually coming in around $200 for both spacers, and that's a reasonable cost for the flexibility and the fitment correction for your front bumper. Installation is rated 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and you can have these installed in 1 hour of your time if everything goes smooth. Now let's head on out to the shop and we're going to give you a detailed walkthrough of exactly how this install process goes.
For this install, you will need various impacts, a ratchet, a long extension, T15 Torx bit, 7, 10, 15, 17, and 18 millimeter sockets, and a clip removal tool. All right, today we're going to be installing some bumper extenders on our Silverado, so let's get started. All right, so in order to remove our factory bumper, we're going to need to remove our headlight trim as well as our grille. So we're going to start at our headlight trims. So the first thing we're going to do for that is pop off our wheel arch trim. And we have some screws in our fender liner that we need to get it out, as well as one behind this, and then we can pop this out. So we'll pop this out first. We're simply going to pull back on that. That's going to expose that screw. Next, we're going to be removing these 2 forward T15 Torx screws from our fender liner. So I've got my T15 Torx bit on a ratchet. We'll get those out. Now we can grab our 7 millimeter socket on a ratchet and remove our 7 millimeter screw from behind our fender liner trim. So the rest of our trim is held in by locator clips, so we're going to grab it and gently but firmly pull this out and remove it. Start back here, pop that out, and remove it. Once you have this one out, you can do the same thing on the other side. Next, we're going to need to remove our upper shroud. However, before we do that, we need to remove our hood latch release handle because that does block your shroud from coming out. It's held in by 2 T15 Torx screws, so we've got our T15 Torx socket on our ratchet. We'll get those out. Once you have your 2 screws out, pull your handle out and set it aside. Next, we can remove our shroud. Now it is held in by 7 push clips, so we've got our clip removal tool. We'll pop those out and get this out of the way. Now we'll remove our shroud, set it aside. Next, we're going to remove the 4 10 millimeter screws on the top of our grill, as well as our 2 10 millimeters down low, so we can remove our grill fully. We've got our 10 millimeter socket on our impact, and we'll get these out. Now we'll get our lower 10 mils out. Once you have this one out, you can do the same thing on the other side. All right, so now we can remove our grill. What we're gonna need to do is pull up on the top mounting portion of our grill. There are a few retainer dowels. So we'll get those out of their slots. And we're gonna grab at this upper trim on the side and pop this out, and we can remove our grill. All right, so now we can begin removing our bumper. The first thing we're going to need to do is remove the 4 18mm bolts going down from the top. Now, these are kind of difficult to see. They're right in between the back of your bumper and your shutter area. There's one higher and one lower on each side. So we've got an 18mm socket with a long extension on our impact. We'll get in there and get those off. As you can see, you've got one up here and then one down lower. And once you got these two out, you can do the same thing for the other side. Now we come underneath the front of our truck and we're going to remove the two 15mm bolts on each side for our bumper supports. We've got our 15mm socket on our impact and we'll get those off. And once you have these two off, you can do the same thing on the other side. Now we can grab our bumper and remove it from the vehicle. You can grab an extra set of hands if you feel like you need it. All right, so now that we have our bumper off, we're gonna need to remove our factory mounting brackets from our frame horns. That also includes this sub-assembly for our shutter. Now this is all gonna come off as one piece. We just need to remove our 4 15mm bolts from each side of our frame horns, and all this will come out as one. So we've got our 15mm socket on our impact, and we'll get all these out and pull this away. Now we'll get our other 4 screws off and we can take this out. Take this out and set it aside. All right, so now we've got our shutter and bracket assembly in hand and we've got our provided spacer. The extended portion is going to face towards your frame horn. The flat end is going to lay onto your brackets. Easiest way to get this on, we're going to line this up and grab one of our provided 17mm bolts with our washers. Just going to get that through first, then we'll lay it up there and get our first one threaded in for each side. And once you get a few threads in on your first one, we'll line this up and get the rest of our hardware in place. Get the rest of our hardware in. Then we'll get our other side loosely in place and come back and tighten these down. Now we can tighten our hardware down with our 17mm socket. Got these tight, do the same thing for the other side. All right, so now that we have our spacers and brackets in place, we're gonna reinstall our bumper. So we'll line it up with our factory mounting points up top. We've got our 18mm bolts for the top and we're gonna get those loosely back in place. So we'll get our top bolt loosely in place first. So we have that started. The easiest way for this is to use a magnet. Started with the magnet. Then you want to get your other two in as well. Now we've got our 18mm socket with the long extension. We'll tighten down these bolts. And you can do the other side as well, and we'll go underneath and get our 15s back in. Now we can get our 2 bumper support bolts back in place, as again, they are our factory 15s. You might need to push on your support a little bit. Get that in. Get our other one in. Tighten these down with our 15mm socket. You can do the same thing on the other side. Next, we can reinstall our front grille, get it pushed into place, and we'll reinstall our 6 10mm bolts holding it in. So we've got our 10mm socket. We'll get our lower 10s in. You can get your other side in as well. Now we'll get our 4 top bolts in place. Once you got your first 2 in, you can do the other 2 as well. Next, we'll reinstall our shroud. Get this drop back into place. Then we can reinstall our clips. We'll get these back in. Once you got your first few in, you can do the same thing for the rest of your clips. Now we'll get our hood latch handle back in and reinstall our 2 T15 torque screws. Slide that in. Once you You got both in, we can grab our T15 Torx bit, tighten these down. Now we'll reinstall our headlight trim. Now we'll reinstall our 7mm screw with our 7mm socket, and we can reinstall our fender trim. Next we'll reinstall our two T15 Torx screws in our fender liner, their T15 Torx socket. Once you get this side on, you can do the same thing for the other side. Alrighty, that about wraps up our review and install of our 3/4 inch front bumper spacer kit for your 20 to current Silverado and Sierra 2500 HD. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Silverado, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.